Hello everyone, good afternoon, and welcome back after a brief intermission to Lazer Grand Arena. It is the round of 16 Sunday here in this single elim bracket, and we are returning to the action for an exciting affair between two high-flying players from round of 32. It is FlyingTuna versus Ampy, both strong victors in their first matches of the week against Nev and Ruj respectively. And so into their match against one another we go to see if they can reprise some really solid scores and put up a banger of a match for us. I'm this one guy. Joining me for this one, and I believe joining me for his first match in LGA, is going to be none other than Dio. Welcome, Dio, to Lazer Grand Arena.
Good afternoon, Aaron, and yeah, first match of Lazer Grand Arena for me. Excited to be here for this round of 16 matchup. As you said, both of them putting up some pretty solid scores. 3.6 million total score for Ampy versus Ruj earlier in the weekend, and 4.25 million for FlyingTuna versus Nev yesterday in the round of 32. Two overlapping maps for those two players, Put Curse on You and Rogoku Strip. Unfortunately, one of them was not streamed, actually. Ampy versus Ruj was not streamed. So FlyingTuna not necessarily getting access to those scores from Ampy. But very clearly, Ampy happy to pick back into that Nomad 2, as we see already on the screen. And a couple of picks for FlyingTuna as well. Amanita and Delirium picked up here, as well as Nanatsu Momijiakari picked up once again for Ampy. Ampy generally a very, very good mechanics player, very good on the streams and stamina, very good on the hard rock. I believe this hard rock 2 actually is a bit higher circle size than the usual 6.5. This is CS 7.8 for the hard rock 2, so not just a precision pick, but extra precision oriented, almost CS 8 on that hard rock 2. So Ampy very, very confident going into that map. I will say it is a bit of a interesting pick, only because of the aim control focus on Nanatsu Momijiakari. FlyingTuna, obviously a very, very good aim control player, one of the best tech players of all time in this game, and very good on both the hidden and nomad tech, as well as general aim and aim control. So FlyingTuna, I think, going to be happy enough picking into Amanita and Delirium, and happy enough with that Hard Rock 2 last pick from Ampy as well. Maybe would have expected a DT pick out of Ampy if possible, but with Ampy banning out the DT1, the DT3, that really only leaves the DT2 as an option, and that's a little bit more control focused as well. So maybe just the Hard Rock feeling best for Ampy here, especially, of course, FlyingTuna, a very good aim player. Stuff like Nomad 1 and the Keelhauled going to be very good. And there's honestly a couple of really good maps left for FlyingTuna here as a last pick as we get into the other bans for both of these players.
Yeah, it feels like a fair number of matches have kind of defaulted to Nomad 1 as the leftover map that ends up being the fifth map played, the undrafted pick, because it doesn't fit in a given niche, right? It's just a Nomad 1. It is mostly raw aim, a little bit of tapping. So we've seen a fair number of occasions where that just ends up being left up. Nobody has any interest in touching it. Wouldn't be surprised to see that happen again here. But instead, it is going to be banned out. It's going to be Tuna banning Nomad 4, understandably. Nomad 1, a little surprising, which leaves one of Hidden 2 or DT2 as the last map. Gotta think that if you're Ampy, you probably ban this Hidden 2 here, and you just end up playing the DT2. Yep, and there it is.
I don't think that ban from Ampy is surprising. I do think the Nomad 1 ban from... the Nomad 4 ban from FlyingTuna is pretty surprising. You said the Nomad 1 ban is a little surprising. I do think, of course, FlyingTuna, a very good aim player, maybe could have left that up, but I think the Nomad 4 ban is a little more surprising. That map is really, really difficult. It's basically a Nomad 6, but AR8. There's not a lot of players who are very good at that sort of thing. And FlyingTuna definitely has the reading to gap a lot of players on that. That is going to leave the DT2, of course, as the last pick for both of these players. I think that favors Ampy a little more than FlyingTuna. So I think Ampy, coming out of that ban phase, pretty happy with what happened. I don't think you want to play the Nomad 4 or the Nomad 1 versus FlyingTuna. So I think Ampy going to be pretty happy with how that last ban phase went. Personal opinion there. You never know the scores for these players. You never know how the practice has gone, whether players have had time to practice stuff like that Nomad 4, which definitely is a practice-heavy map. FlyingTuna, of course, playing some other tournament grand finals this weekend, so maybe a little bit more time going into those than into the early stages here in Lazer Grand Arena. But yeah, definitely Ampy. I think pretty happy to be playing this DT2 as the last pick. And we're going to get into the first pick for Ampy here as well. The Nomad 2, Put Curse on You by Undead Corporation, mapped by Half Slash. This was originally the Nomad 2 in the Corsace Open 2020 Grand Finals. First iteration of Corsace Open to come back after their year-long break between 2018 and 2020. And this one is mapped in triplicate. It's 140 BPM on the screen, really plays like 210 BPM streams. So all of these long streams that you see on screen, all of the really tricky flow aim, the cornering, the accel, decel, is all on 210 BPM. This is not easy, and it takes a lot of stamina to be very solid at this, and FlyingTuna has gotten much better at that. You see the accuracy difference, 95, before those jumps bring the act down, before they bring the combo down for FlyingTuna.
Yeah, this has definitely been a point of emphasis for FlyingTuna over the past year and change, going into his tapping era, you could say. It is, though, still going to be Ampy with the far superior combo at this point, but looking at the accuracy, importantly, Ampy at 90%, FlyingTuna at 96%, and there is the break for the American player, and that's going to give Tuna a pretty sizable advantage. An interesting, kind of quirk of Lazer scoring is that the scores are higher in general, but the score difference is still relatively similar to what you might expect here. And it is Tuna taking that lead of nearly 70k already, only about 1/3 of the way through. And there are some matching breaks from the players, but that accuracy lead is just gigantic. It's giving him a huge, huge lead.
Yeah, I heard Miles say you can basically double the score lead from Lazer versus Score V2 in your head, and that seems about right here on this map. I think on Score V2 you would expect Ampy's score to be a lot lower than 200k right now, and FlyingTuna near 300k probably seems about right with this accuracy, with the combo that he's had. So this 87k score lead really feels pretty rough for Ampy at the moment. You look at the accuracy, you look at the combo for both of these players. Look at the PP value on both of these scores. 248, 247 PP for FlyingTuna, 118 for Ampy. Really says all you need to know about these scores. Far more misses, far fewer combo, far worse accuracy for Ampy on this opening pick. And this is definitely a backfire of a pick if I've ever seen one, and doesn't bode well for the rest of this match. You have, as we talked about, the Hard Rock 2 CS 7.8 aim control. Yeah, FlyingTuna is not really a Hard Rock player, not known as one, but definitely the style of map is still good there. And of course, 2 of the remaining maps are FlyingTuna's picks. So this mispick on the Nomad 2 can be pretty devastating early on, and it's not getting any better for Ampy here.
No, and one of the other, kind of facets of how this format plays out, as we continue to see that lead growing up over 150k, is that one really bad map can basically end your chances of winning the match, because once you go down, 200,000 points on the first map alone, it's a really big mountain to climb to try to make that kind of gap back up. It's unlikely there's going to be multiple maps in the pool that are that one-sided, just because this pool isn't all that hard for players of this caliber. And so when you see somebody down nearly 200k on the first map on their own pick, I don't want to say it means the match is over, because there are still 4 more maps to play and a lot of cumulative score to be gained, but it is setting a pretty big deficit in place for Ampy to lose his own first pick by 200k as we go into some of these brutal flow patterns in the last portion of the map. Both players struggling quite a bit, but that lead steady on the side of FlyingTuna. He's going to come out of this one with a pretty solid score lead, and he's going to be very pleased with how this one went. As you said, Dio, a very big mispick here to start things off for Ampy, just not going anywhere near how he would have needed it to. A 190k score gap, and Tuna's going to have a sizable lead to play with going into his own 2 picks.
Yeah, it's unfortunately not a great start for Ampy here, down 192,000 points off the first pick. I mean, you can even see it in the error bar, right? Tuna ever so slightly overstreaming, so just feeling maybe a little more comfortable. Ampy most of the hits late, so the stamina just not there for Ampy. That or the flow aim just not able to keep up with the streams in this map, and so the score just that much lower. And that's just not a fantastic start for Ampy. That said, as we talked about, 4 more maps to go. It's not over till it's over. But a good start here for FlyingTuna, a bad start for Ampy as we get into Amanita. Another one of these stream maps in this pool. A little more focused on the flow aim this time around. Lots more cut streams, lots more kind of general consistency, awkward aim patterns in this map as well. And a lot lower BPM. I think this is 194 BPM if memory serves. 194 indeed. So a little more awkward, a little more focused on the flow aim, a little more focused on consistency with lots of types of patterns in general. But with the hidden applied, can be pretty tricky, especially with the presence of lots of cut streams in this map.
Yeah, I like this pick a lot for Tuna with the style of map that it is. Obviously, a solid hidden player, solid aim control player, everything that you've discussed already. Do want to mention it looks like we might be getting some slight timing delays before the maps start. Tuna dealing with some injury. He's been playing through, I believe, a finger injury over the past couple of days. So going to be giving him a little time that we will be killing in between picks here, just in the interest of his health. But it's going to be a good spot for him if he can recover from that going into his 2 picks here with that lead already established. You know, if he gets one more good map here with Amanita and maybe Delirium as well, but this would be the start, he'd be in a good place to kind of back off going into the last couple picks anyway, where it doesn't need to be 100% because he'll have a pretty sizable lead at that point. So we're going to, I believe now, get into this hidden one. We're going to get into Amanita, and we'll see if Tuna can continue to build the score lead, 200,000 points just about off the first pick. And into his own first pick, we will go. And Ampy struggling with that early pattern. We'll see how he builds back up if he can get comfortable with the pick.
Well, early start here for Ampy. Again, a little lower on the accuracy, down near the 92% mark now. 98% for FlyingTuna. Clearly a lot more comfortable just going into the map. And again, the hit error bar kind of telling a story all its own, right in the center of the screen for both of these players. A little more comfortable for FlyingTuna here at the start. But the accuracy coming back for Ampy, up to 95% now. Very, very early break as well for Ampy, so it shouldn't affect too much, but right now 24k, 25k score lead for Tuna, and still growing, and another break there for Ampy, going to make that now jump to 35, 36k, and climbing as Tuna keeps the full combo, keeps collected and cool, and keeps the score lead growing in this map. No issues at all so far on Amanita for the, well, one of the best tournament players South Korea has ever seen, really. And I don't know if you'd find too many people betting against FlyingTuna in this match. Unfortunately for Ampy, a player who's been on the up and up, who's been on the come up for a while in the United States and has gotten a lot better in the last year or so. But this is definitely still a bit of a David and Goliath matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming in on paper, not a match where you're really expecting Ampy to have a huge chance of winning. Just want to see him kind of put his best foot forward and see what kind of performance he can get. But absolutely, Tuna, as you said, one of the tourney greats. I mean, he's been doing this for so long and so consistently, other than, you know, his time away for military. But you see, just doesn't feel like he ever loses a step as he comes into this tournament looking like a top contender. Did really well in that first match and has the 1215 combo, full combo, 99 axe still going on this pick. Again, you look at that PP counter, man, it's nearly 500 for Tuna, and it's not even quite 200 for Ampy, which is not a match, not a map that suits Ampy's eye the way that it does Tuna's, who is so good at this sort of hidden control aim type of pick, with plenty of flow aspects to it as well. And this is going to be a pretty massive lead once more, growing towards 200k and above as we go into the last quarter of the pick. Yeah,
Tuna dropped a bunch of AK, and that PP counter's still gone up to above 500 now. I don't know what the highest PP score has been this weekend so far. Maybe an FC on a DT map here and there, but this is pretty ridiculous from Tuna. He will finally drop a miss. I don't know if that counter is going to stay above 500 with this map now, with the miss coming through, but it's going to be damn close, and it's not really any better for Ampy that you're at 600, you know, 650k on this map maybe by the end of it. It just does not matter because Tuna nearly FCs the pick and is going to be up by another almost 300,000 score. Now a grand total of 480,000 points ahead for FlyingTuna after 2 maps. Just very good. What else can you say? This guy's been at the top of the tournament scene for at least as long as I have been staffing at all. Like, this guy has been here doing this for years and years and years. 1 miss on Amanita, 493 PP, 98 AC, 1700 max combo out of 1900 or so. Just a ridiculous score, and now already a pretty rough overall score line here for Ampy. I mean, the last match we saw between Intercamping and Nope KJK, when it was about 450k score lead, that was one of those where it's like, okay, unless Intercamping really pops off here, it's pretty much over. We're already there after 2 maps here for FlyingTuna.
Yeah, this is how, with this format, how these matches can go. If you have a pick or two, as I mentioned in the Nomad 2, if you have a pick or two that are very, very favored your way, you can just take a pretty much unassailable lead within a map or two. And it is now a big, big struggle of an uphill battle for Ampy. I find it hard to think that almost anyone could make up this kind of score difference, considering the difference in how they've been performing on the first couple of maps with only 3 maps to go. Not over till it's over, of course. Client? It is supposed to... Okay, we should be getting Nomad 3 here. It should be Delirium. Not entirely sure what just happened.
Yeah.
But we're going to be getting Delirium eventually.
We are going to get there eventually. Not sure why the Hard Rock 2 has started playing in the background, but we'll see if we get the Nomad 3 here soon. Just to talk about the Nomad 3, again, a map I think FlyingTuna is going to be very, very solid on. You have these kind of really, really tough wiggle streams all over the place in this map. There are some difficult slider patterns, but generally speaking, this pool a little low on slider tech overall, and this map kind of the closest thing you're going to get to it. The wiggle streams in this can be really, really tricky, though, and I think that's the main point of difficulty for a lot of players. So somebody like FlyingTuna, who has some really ridiculous aim control scores, I think is going to be very, very solid on the map. As for Ampy, again, not over till it's over, but already a 480,000 score lead for FlyingTuna cumulatively. And the start on this map also not going great for Ampy. Does find a very early miss. Not going to impact too much, but the score lead already over the way of Tuna once again.
Yeah, tough scenes for Ampy as FlyingTuna got really everything he wanted with his 2 picks. Very good aim control player, very good tech player. And so these are both maps that you gotta expect him to perform very well on. And with that lead coming into his picks after the Nomad 2, it just gets better and better for Tuna. We'll see what kind of score Ampy can recover here, though. Plenty of map in front of us. This one's 4 minutes long, so there is a lot of time and a lot of map to be played. But Ampy's going to need to show us more comfort with these gimmicky maps than I think most anticipate from him, generally speaking, if he wants to make this a competitive affair. As the build-up comes, you reach the 1 minute mark, things will now start to pop off a little bit, and it is instantly another break from Ampy. That is unfortunate to see.
Yeah, that's before you get into these really tricky aim control focused cut stream patterns, plus the sliders in between. Ampy gonna find another break here on one of these cut double streams, and now it's just all Tuna. I mean, this FC is still going strong for him. There is not a lot that Ampy can do here, and you just have to pray for misses to come through for FlyingTuna. And on a map like this, that is a, I don't know, bring out the genie, rub the bottle a few times, give it a good bit shine, because you're gonna need some magic on this map, I think, for that to happen. And Tuna's just showcasing why, right? Ampy is having some understandable trouble with these patterns. These are not easy. These cut double streams into the wiggle streams are not simple. They are very, very difficult, and Tuna is just still going. 98 AC on the FC, no issues whatsoever.
Yeah, if you saw the grand finals of Perennial last night with Tuna on the team that ended up winning, some of those tech and aim control maps several of the most difficult maps in that sort of skill set that you'll ever see. You understand what kind of performances this man is capable of on maps such as this one. It's finally going to be the break at the halfway mark, roughly. But again, a massive lead already established. Tuna just does not let up on these more tech aim control focused maps. And that is a 227k lead at the 2/3 mark. Ampy distant behind. Down on act, down on combo, down on score. Excuse me, up on combo, but down every other which way. As you said, would need to be on his knees praying to his deity of choice for any chance in this one, as that lead is just looking pretty grim in favor of Tuna.
Yeah, we're already 3/4 of the way through the map as well. You see on the bottom there with the timer, 3 minutes elapsed and less than a minute to go in this one. And we are getting a slow section as well, so just not that much combo here for Ampy to play with, and if the accuracy doesn't come up, which, you know, there's only so much time for that to happen, if the score doesn't start to come back your way, which there's only so much combo for that to happen, and you actually have to hit everything here in the end as well. And I think this is still going to be a Tuna favored map at the end of things just by the accuracy. The score lead's still going the way of Tuna, by the way. It's actually been increasing. It's gone up from 227k despite the combo lead for Ampy, just because the accuracy here for Tuna is so much better. And now that's the nail in the coffin. Tuna's already averaged 240k lead per map. That's going to go up with this one, now closing in on a 300,000 score lead at the end of the map here for FlyingTuna. Just a little over 5 seconds left in the map, and he is still going. Was that one miss or one slider break for FlyingTuna on this? An absolutely ridiculous 830k for FlyingTuna. One miss on that map. 288k score lead on this map alone. And yeah, the score average per map lead for FlyingTuna now gone up to about 267,000 or so.
Yeah, there's not a kind way to describe how this match is going, unfortunately, through these first few picks. This is just, frankly, a brutal beatdown that Tuna is putting on Ampy. An outrageously good performance in its own right, and against a player who, unfortunately, is a little bit weaker on the skill sets we've been seeing. And it is just all Tuna all the time. And we will be getting into... There we go. We will be getting into that Hard Rock 2. It is the second and final pick for Ampy. As you said, when it was picked, you know, this is the sort of thing that Ampy is probably expected to do pretty well in the Hard Rock pool, but Tuna is just so good at the control aim, and this map features a lot of that. And so once more, Ampy going to be battling from an 800k deficit just to try to make a show of things, you know, try to maybe a little moral victory, maybe keep a little face in this one. You can't feel too bad about losing to a player of Tuna's caliber playing this well, but you still want to put forth, you know, a little bit of a better showing than losing by an average of 250k plus per map. So here's hoping that on his second pick, Ampy can do something solid.
Yeah, let's see how this map goes. Again, this is CS 7.8, so this is almost CS 8. Forget 6.5. This is even higher circle size than most players are used to for precision picks in tournament. And again, very triple aim control focused. So a lot of the patterns in this map that give it its difficulty are just some really high spacing triples, as well as the aim in between, a little bit of awkward aim, a little bit of linear stuff. The directional triples in this map as well can be pretty tough. So you're not getting an easy pick here. Both players breaking early on the accelerating quint stream there. And yeah, you can see the aim control that we're talking about, right? The way that these streams go from stacked to full spacing in just a single note is really difficult to deal with on CS 7.8. And so far, it's yet another lead for FlyingTuna. 99% accuracy, does drop to 98 with that miss, but just not mattering all that much because Ampy, while he is comboing, is down at 94% accuracy, and that just does so much for the score. Another break, or a couple another breaks there for Ampy. Can keep this on the side of FlyingTuna. And, well, both players kind of breaking all over the place. And when you have that happening, you look at the accuracy, you look at how consistently they are breaking. And, well, the performance points tells the story. 200 to 100 in favor of FlyingTuna gives a pretty solid score lead his way as well.
Yeah, it's a little bit amusing, actually, how easily you can tell kind of how the map is going just by looking at that top right corner. You don't need to see anything else besides the accuracy and the PP counter. That tells you all you need. And really, the PP counter on its own more or less tells you enough, since this is relatively heavily AC-weighted. 98.5 to 95 is a pretty big gap. And this is actually, thus far, one of the closer maps we've had in terms of score, right? It's only a 76,000 point difference in score. But when you consider that it's Ampy's own pick, and he's still losing it by that margin on something of a specialist skill set as well, it's unfortunately not the greatest. And we're going to come down to the last few moments of this pick with both players, as you mentioned, both players struggling on this, missing their fair share of times throughout this map. The aim control on this so challenging, and the precision aspect of it obviously making it even more difficult. But it is going to be Tuna adding to his lead a bit more. He's going to go up by another 70,000 points or thereabouts, depending on the outcome of this spinner. I think that doesn't change that much, actually. Yeah, it's 71,000. And 800K. Tuna just dominating this matchup as one anticipates him to do.
Yeah, I mean, well, both players, of course, better off than the storyboard. Flipped upside down there at the end, missing about every note on the storyboard. But unfortunately for Ampy, not enough. And Tuna now ahead by a whopping 840,000 points. Pretty much over already, unfortunately for Ampy. Hate to say it, but despite this being a DT map, yeah, there's the score multiplier and everything, but you don't anticipate ever an 840,000 score lead on Lazer, just because, again, the baseline score is much higher than on Score V2. So for Ampy, this feels like a nearly impossible task to be able to win this map and win the match off of it. And even if this were a normal match with, normal point system, Tuna would still be at 4-0. So it doesn't look good regardless of whether this is a draft format or a normal best of 9. Tuna is still looking very, very solid. And of course, unfortunately for Ampy, this is the last bout, and once Tuna gets to about 400k, it's completely over. I don't know the exact multipliers on Lazer. I don't know if the score is normalized with DT to exactly 1 mil. If that's the case, once he's above 200k, it's already over. And with the combo lead early on in Tuna's favor, the AC lead early on in Tuna's favor once again, well, congratulations, South Korea.
Yeah. This outcome not unsurprising by any means. Not, there's no surprises here, right? Tuna, the number 6 seed coming in. Ampy was the 11 seed, but just in terms of what we know about them as players, what we anticipate from them in their performance, you kind of had to see that this match was largely favored to Tuna. The only question now is, can he put up a 4 million score again? Looks like he may be able to with the scoring system acting the way that it does. And it's just been a one-sided affair the entire way through. Ampy down at 90 AC, Tuna at 97 AC. That's been tail of the tape for this match. It has been all Tuna all the time. He's going to go onward into quarterfinals. I would love to know offhand who he's going to be matched up against. I'm not sure if he has an opponent yet because there are still a couple more matches to be played. But Tuna is going to be a player to be scared of regardless of who he faces in the next round with plays like he has displayed in these 2 matches this weekend.
Yeah, it's been a pretty one-sided affair here for FlyingTuna. 800k at the end of the map and a full 1 million score lead for FlyingTuna by the end of the affair. Spitshine not quite good enough on that magic lamp for Ampy. Just not able to find the win, not able to find the magic. And FlyingTuna going to be taking this one by a cool 1 mil overall score lead. Another 164k on the DT2 for him there as well. So looking very, very solid for FlyingTuna, and very well done from him. It does look like his quarterfinals opponent will be the winner of Welter versus Sigi.
It's Welter in that
so
case,
it is
because
now
Welter
Welter.
did already win that, yeah, by a very, very small margin. That was a super close match, but it is going to be Welter.
Yeah, so quarterfinals matchup for FlyingTuna is going to be versus Welter. But in the meantime, congratulations to FlyingTuna on the win. Thank you to Ampy for playing. And I think that's going to be it for us. That is the last time we'll be seeing Ampy in this tournament in Lazer Grand Arena, because this is single elimination until some of the later rounds. So unfortunately, that is the last we will see of Ampy. So thank you to him for playing. And for now, we have another match coming up in about 50 minutes, 18:30 UTC, going to be Zudinator versus Antonio. That being the second to last round of 16 matchup. We do also have a Monday 13 UTC match between Anesthetic and Henry. So those two are going to be facing off on Monday, a little less than 24 hours from now. But that'll do it for us. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you to Tiger for reffing this match. Of course, to the operator behind the scenes for streaming it's about every Lazer Grand Arena match this weekend, and to T1G for casting with me. Thank you all for watching. Congratulations once again to FlyingTuna, and we'll see you all back here in a little less than an hour for Zudinator versus Antonio.